Ladies and gentlemen, on January 28th, 2022, it was a Friday night. John O'Keefe and Karen Read made plans to meet up with friends, go out for drinks. You saw through video evidence and eyewitnesses that they were affectionate, they were loving, they were in good spirits throughout that evening. They started off at C.F. McCarthy's, which you've heard about, and eventually made their way over to the Waterfall Bar and Grill. When they got there, the Albert family, they were already there, and they were already drinking. The Albert family, it's been established as a very well-known family in Canton. They've got quite the reputation. Brian Albert was at the Waterfall, a longtime Boston police officer. His wife, Nicole Albert, was there. She was with him. His brother, Chris Albert, who was a Canton board selectman, he was there. His wife, Julie Albert, their daughter, Caitlin, and his sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, whom you met, and her husband, Matthew McCabe, whom you did not meet. They were all there drinking before John and before Karen ever arrived. But also present at the Waterfall that night was Brian Albert's friend, Brian Higgins. We know that he had a romantic design on Karen. That becomes an incredibly important fact as we discuss the facts of this case. As the bar was closing around midnight, the Alberts invited everybody back to their house. They wanted to keep the night going. But the evidence revealed something interesting, that the
Canton, Massachusetts, January 29th, 2022. In the middle of a blizzard, a Boston police officer is found dead in the snow outside the home of a fellow cop. His name was John O'Keefe, and the woman accused of killing him was his own girlfriend, Karen Read. Prosecutors said she ran him down with her SUV and left him to die in the cold. But this case would not follow the script, because before it was over, the question would no longer be whether Karen Read was guilty. It would be whether she had been framed. Karen Read was charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of a deadly crash. The prosecution's story was simple. Drunk and enraged, she threw her SUV in reverse, struck O'Keefe, and abandoned him in the snow. But the defense told a very different story. They said her car never touched him, that John O'Keefe was beaten inside that house, attacked, and dumped outside to die, and that a group of people, including law enforcement, had covered it up. Two stories, one body, and a jury that would have to decide which one to believe.
His office, rifling through Karen's phone, bragging about looking for naked pictures of her. That text wasn't sent to his buddies or his friends. That text was sent to his supervisors at the Massachusetts State Police, for God's sake. And what was their response? Sergeant Buchanan liked this conduct with a big old thumbs up. He encouraged it. Ladies and gentlemen, a lead investigator is every investigator is supposed to be objective, an objective fact finder. No bias, no agenda. Michael Proctor went far beyond just insulting Karen Read. He dehumanized this woman. He betrayed her as a human being. He was fired for this blatant bias. If the Massachusetts State Police can't trust him, how can you trust him with this investigation and with your verdict? And with Karen Read's life. The lead investigator in a murder trial was never called to testify. Think about that. That should stop you in your tracks. Wouldn't you want to hear from Michael Proctor? Wouldn't you want to hear from the lead investigator in the case? Don't you have questions? The Commonwealth did not present their own lead investigator to the jury, the very jury who is charged with judging the investigation. Michael Proctor clearly is radioactive, and the Commonwealth stayed away from him. Michael Proctor is no longer a Massachusetts State Police officer. He wasn't transferred. He didn't go on sabbatical. He didn't retire. He didn't resign. He was fired. He was terminated for cause.
And then the case against Karen Read began to unravel from the inside. The lead investigator was a state trooper named Michael Proctor, the man who built the case. And the defense revealed what he had really been doing. Proctor had sent a stream of vulgar text messages about Read to a group chat that included his own supervisors. He called her names. He mocked her medical condition. He said he hoped she would kill herself. He leaked details of the investigation to his friends. Michael Proctor was fired, his badge was stripped, and suddenly the question in that courtroom had flipped. Who was really on trial here? Karen Redd or the people who investigated her?
The actual suspects in this case, they failed to present the lead investigator to you. They failed to justify the perjured testimony that you heard discussed in this case. They failed to hold accountable an officer who came in here and lied to you and claimed false memories so she could do the right thing to cover for a fellow cop or cops. They failed to maintain a fair and unbiased and honest investigation. They failed to present you with the truth. And this is what you get. An investigation that's riddled with errors and omissions and a rush to judgment and conflicted and corrupted from the start. Every part of it. That is the literal definition of reasonable doubt. How can they ask you to be morally certain based on this evidence? It's a tragedy. When the government fails so completely, so catastrophically, when there are dozens and dozens of points of reasonable doubt on the table, your duty, your oath is clear. Your sworn obligation under the law is to acquit Karen Read. Not just because you can, because you must. Justice demands it.
5. After a hung jury, a mistrial, and a second trial that gripped the entire country, the jury returned. Not guilty of second-degree murder. Not guilty of manslaughter. Not guilty of leaving the scene. Karen Redd was acquitted of every serious charge, convicted only of driving under the influence, and sentenced to a single year of probation. She walked out of that courthouse a free woman into a crowd of supporters who had believed her all along. It was the most divisive verdict in America. And to this day, one question remains unanswered. If Karen Redd didn't kill John O'Keefe, then who did? The moment justice lands,